I'm not into black women.
Oh. Why is this always the answer? I need to know this right now.
So you think I'm ugly?
No, that's not it. You're conventionally a very pretty girl. It's just a preference. I actually tried to kind of see a black girl for a little bit, but I just couldn't like get into it. Like, I mean, if a girl's half, it's different. But like a girl who's like fully black, for some reason, it's just...
So it's just like a preference of skin tone. So you don't like black people?
No, I love black people, but I'm just not attracted sexually to black women.
What's one race that you wouldn't date?
Definitely.
Look, let me tell you something, baby. It's a warm day in the caves when you catch me out here defending some cave folk, but I'm not mad at Chadsworth at all. And let me explain exactly what I mean by that. Mentioned before that I do not date interracially, but I do date interethnically, right? I will date black men of differing backgrounds, right? And something I've spoken about on YouTube is how there's been a number of occasions when an African or a Caribbean man has been trying to, talk to me or whatever, right? And he puts down the women of his own background, right? For example, I've mentioned how my Kenyan ex straight up said he does not like Kenyan women, right? I don't know if I mentioned, but there was this Nigerian guy who said he doesn't like Igbo women. He was an Igbo man, right? And it's always weird to me because it's like, how you don't like what you are? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. You sitting here telling me you don't like the women of your background, even though you're of that background too. So it's like, if something's wrong with them, I really doubt that same thing is not wrong with you, right? And I've told these men that before. How can you not like the women who know you the best, understand you the best? Like, no matter what, even if you explain your culture to me and whatever, I'm never going to be as in tune with it as a woman of your background who actually is that thing is. Like, what, right? So this has been a conversation I've had on YouTube before, okay? And I mentioned briefly, I don't remember if it was a video or a comment that I said this in, right? But I said, I think it's weird when white men say they don't like white women for the same exact reason. You're a white man. Like you sitting here trying to talk to a black woman talking about you don't like white women. Well, whatever you don't like about white women applies to you too. So what are you saying? Now, this is my thing. 98% of the time when these conversations about men putting down, the women of their own background come up, they're always, centered on black American men putting black American women down, right? So most of the time when these conversations are had, it's about how black American men be like, oh, I want a snow bunny. Black women is too aggressive, so-and-so, all of that, right? But what I've noticed is that this is happening a lot with a lot of different types of men. Like I said, I've had African and Caribbean men do this, to me and say, oh, I don't like African women. I don't like Caribbean women, so-and-so and so, right? I've had, white men say, oh, I don't like white women. I've seen Asian men say they don't like Asian women, whether it's the Indian men, the East Asian men, whatever, right? I've seen so many men doing this, and I think it's so weird. And hold up, let me be fair and say, I've seen women doing this as well. Now, I will say most of the time it's men from what I see, okay? Whether I'm talking about black men, Asian men, white men, whatever. Most of the time it's the men, but women definitely do it sometimes too. And it's equally as weird because, again, how you not gonna like the people who the same background as you? Because, baby, y'all way more similar than y'all are, like, different. Now, let me be fair. Of course, we live in a white supremacist world with the Eurocentric standard of beauty. Duh. Like, come on now, clearly, right? So, of course, that is going to affect people's dating preferences, right? So when you hear a white man say he only likes white women, on one hand, I'm like, okay, well, duh, because I'm black and I only like black men. You know what I'm saying? I expect people to like the people of their background. I feel like that's just kind of normal, right? But you also gotta, you gotta look at it with a side eye because it's like, do you really actually, like them because they're your compliment, right? Or is it just white supremacist stuff at play here, right? So you definitely gotta look at it from both perspectives, right? But I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I am not mad about no white man not wanting to date no black women. And maybe I'm not offended because I don't want to date white men. So maybe that's why I'm not so taken aback by this, right? Maybe that's not a fair conclusion to come to because, to be fair, I've spoken about colorism before because it'll be black men talking about who you only like light-skinned women, so-and-so and so, yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? And I've spoken about that. Like, again, how do you not like the women of your own background? Nigga, you black as the night talking about you only like light-skinned women, right? And it don't be coming from a place of me being offended because it's like, I want to date this man, right? You know, it's more so coming from a place of like, you goofy as fuck. What are you saying, right? So maybe that's not a fair conclusion to come to about this topic and the reaction that woman in the video had, right? But I do want to get into another thing that Chadsworth said, because something else he said about biracials kind of stuck out. Chadsworth made it very clear. He said, Doc Diggity, I don't like black women, my homie, yo. Okay, cool, right? But then he went on to say, it's different if they're half black, my homie, yo. Like, that's a different thing. And I want to point that out. Because Chadsworth just acknowledged something that a lot of black people ain't ready to acknowledge. Biracials are not black, right? If biracials were black, then Chadsworth would have said, I don't like black women. And that includes those biracials because biracials are black, my dog diggity. But he didn't. Now, of course, I'm not sitting here saying that Chadsworth is God and whatever he says goes, right? But I'm pointing this out because a lot of black people and biracials say that white people don't see the difference between black people and biracials, right? They say that to white people, we're all the same. But anybody with two eyes can see the difference between a black person and a biracial. Like, look at this video. There was a black woman talking, and there was also a biracial woman being shown. I don't remember if she said anything, right? But we can all look and see. Hold up, like, where my glasses at? We can all look and see that one of those women was black and one was biracial. There's a very clear difference, right? Anybody claiming that they can't tell the difference between black people and biracials is trying to be funny. There's just no way, because we all know good and well, if I had a child with a black man, that child would look different than if I had a child with a white man. The child with two black parents would definitely look different than the child with one black parent and one white parent. There's no question about that, right? We all know that, okay? But for some reason, folks are still sitting around acting like biracials are black, and anybody looks at them and is like, oh yeah, that's a black person, right? Like, nobody is thinking that. Now, let me be fair, let me be clear, because I already see the comments. Flowers, how are you, black Wakandan, big lip baboon, bitch, you're just jealous of those biracial queens. I already see the comments coming, oh my good heavens, right? Let me be very clear. I'm not saying that biracials don't experience any racism or even anti-blackness. If you're somebody who is half black, I'm not surprised to hear that you experience anti-blackness, right? Because this is the thing. Anti-blackness is so huge, it's so pervasive that it affects people who are not even black. Like, I recorded a video. I'm put the link to it up here, right? It was about a white guy, a literal white guy. He was not biracial, okay? It was a white guy. He did his DNA ancestry test and it came back like 10% black or something, right? I mean, whatever, because I'm black and I'm like 10% white. Okay, I'm duh, my ancestors were raped during slavery, and duh, his ancestors were raping during slavery, right? So his ancestry results came back like 10% black, and his coworkers started being racist to him, calling him the N-word and all this other stuff, to the point where he sued for discrimination and won. Anti-blackness is so deep that it affects people who are not even black. So I'm not saying that biracials do not experience any racism or even anti-blackness specifically, because as somebody who's half black, I mean, yeah, you're going to get hated on because the world hates black people, so they're going to hate half black people too, right? But can we acknowledge that ain't nobody looking at a biracial and be like, that's an African American, buddy. Like, be fucking for real. Everybody can see the difference between us. Now, if people pretend that we're the same because of whatever social or political, whatever they're pushing, like white people invented the one drop rule, right? They said, oh, a drop of black makes you black because blackness is so dirty and inferior that it pollutes you. So somebody with a white parent and a black parent cannot be considered white because that blackness is so dirty it just made them right? So maybe somebody pretends you're black for whatever social or political reason they're pushing, right? But we all know that y'all not actually black. Come on now. Anyway, like I said, I'm not offended. I'm not taken aback by Chadsworth's, his statement that he only likes white women. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm really not, okay? Now, again, there are a lot of conversations to be had about, well, do you really just like white women? Because, I mean, they're your compliment. Duh, like, baby, I'm African-American. My compliment is an African-American man. If somebody is Jamaican, his compliment is going to be a Jamaican woman. If a dude's white, his compliment is going to be a white woman, right? So, it raises the question, are you actually, are you actually dating white women because that's your compliment? Or is it because, white supremacists, oh, those black baboon Shaniquas could never be so-and-so, It does raise that question, but look, baby, look. I'm not that shocked to hear that a white man like white women. Ain't that kind of the natural order of things? Like, I would think that the natural order of things would be for Black men are like black women. Asian men are like Asian women. White men are like white women. Like, I would just think that that's the natural order of things, because maybe I'm crazy. Look, maybe I'm cuckoo, but I want black kids. I want my kids to look like me. And let me take it a step further, baby. I want African American kids. I want kids who look like me and who are me, like in their wholeness, right? So how could I be mad at somebody else for wanting the same thing? I don't want biracial kids. I don't want bi-ethnic kids. Now, like I said, I do date bi-ethnically, so I wouldn't be mad if my kids were half African American, but at least still black, right? But I'm not mad at nobody who wants their kids to be them. You know what I'm saying? Who wants their kids to be black, who wants their kids to be African American or Jamaican or whatever, who wants their kids to be who they are, right? I can't be mad at nobody for that.